I was not afraid to die from cancer. I was afraid that my death would, um,
Impact your
yes,
family. Yeah,
yes. I,
yeah.
I know it.
Totally
I know
understand
it.
that. Yeah.
And since I was already a victim of domestic violence, I think I felt guilty for having cancer. I think in that moment I had to have two options. I can either break down right now, or I can make sure that I have, uh, if these are going to be my last years or my last months or anything, I can live them happy without a fear of dying, but actually excited for everything that I got to do before. To me, dying is not the worst thing. I think it's living with that fear of dying.
Hello and welcome to Ego is Here. On this episode, I'm joined by Carlos Lujan, a cancer survivor, author, and creator of the inspiring children's book, Cancer Can't Stop Me, Roar. Hello, Carlos.
Hello, Anna Iris. How are you?
I'm great, and I feel amazing for having you here and for you wanting to share your story.
Of
Um,
course. I'm actually very, very excited to be in your podcast and very grateful to be able to share my story with you and with everyone that is listening.
Thank you so much. Carlos, before we dive into the challenges, can you take us back to your childhood in Mexico? Like, what dreams and ambitions shaped the young boy who later became brave enough to chase the American dream?
Thank you. I think back when I was little, I would like to say that it wasn't too long ago, but I guess now that I'm hitting my 30s, I had to get uh, reacquainted with growing older.
Don't
But
too young.
right, when I was little, I dream of being a lawyer. Actually, I
Mhm.
would use my dad's ties and his clothes, even though they were like huge on me. I um, I thought of being a lawyer, and I know this is kind of weird, but even as like 7, 10 years old, I wanted to become a family lawyer so I could help women have like a better treatment with child support and like getting their kids and everything, which my mom thought it was kind of weird that since I was little, I would like already diving into those type of topics. Um, but I feel like I always believe in social justice and just trying to help people in one way or another. For more context, my mom was my principal for 6 years when I was in elementary, and my dad is still a superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have two sisters. One of them, she is a doctor. She's a pediatrician. And my younger sibling, she is studying to become a doctor. So I am actually the only one that didn't study or went to a career to actually help people. I'm a marketer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so while growing up, I tried to still find ways to do what I felt like was my purpose, but is still trying to dedicate a little bit of my time in my life to helping other people, and hence my book.
That's so beautiful. So, what was it like moving in the United States, learning a new language, and adapting to a whole new culture? Did you ever feel like an outsider? And how did you push through that?
Yeah, no, I think at the beginning it felt a little bit bittersweet because not only I was leaving my country, I was also leaving my family. That of course I was 19 when I moved to the U.S. To study marketing in El Paso, Texas, and I was also in a relationship. I had my first boyfriend ever, and we were together for 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
And although he was very supportive of me. He also asked me to stay and to go and follow my dreams. So it was kind of like a torn, but
Yeah.
I truly believe if something is meant to happen, it will.
It will.
Um,
Mm.
and if it's not, then no matter what you do, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to manifest. So I took the leap of faith and I started by myself. I had two roommates, and it was not only was it different to come into the U.S. and see like different customs and stuff like that, even though El Paso, Texas is very like Hispanic culture, it
Hmm.
was also learn how to do everything that my parents would do for me that I didn't realize. I didn't know that we had to pay for these bills and we didn't have to do this on
Yes,
time and like there were so many nuances that I guess we don't give credit to our parents for. Um,
that's true.
that
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. As we
even
grow older, then we understand. Yeah.
exactly, or even living with strangers. I realized that you sometimes, and I mean the roommates that I had, they were a little bit complicated to say the least. So I had to learn how to keep certain parts of myself hidden so I wouldn't get hurt, and at the same time. Uh, be a little bit of a people pleaser and without being
Mm.
it too much. But it wasn't such a cultural shock until years later. I think 6 years later, 7 years later, I moved to Boston, Massachusetts. That's when my cultural shock actually happened because El Paso, Texas to Boston, Massachusetts was completely opposites, and that is where I actually saw that.
Hmm. So take us now to the moment that you learn that you have cancer. I mean, when you first heard it, what went through your mind and heart? And had you noticed any symptoms? Did you have any signs? Like, what was the reason that you got checked?
Sure. In that time, I was actually going through domestic violence abuse at the hand of a boyfriend that I had. So I was thinking of leaving him. Um, so I was already preparing, and I had like the everything ready. Like I just had to pay to move everything. So I had already gotten a remote job, and I was trying to start putting a safe distance between me and my partner, although it was really hard. Um,
Yeah,
and we started.
yeah, I've been in an abusive relationship and I know how hard it is to keep the
Oh,
distance and being safe at the same time. Yeah.
exactly. And we feel like we don't have any like I feel like when we go through these situations, we don't see the resources that we have, and due to the same violence that we're experiencing, we are even afraid to speak up or to tell other people because we feel like if we tell them, we're gonna put them in danger as well instead of
Mhm. Exactly.
them. Yeah, so I I was by myself in Boston, Massachusetts. I did tell my family a little bit about what was happening, and while I was trying to make my partner at that time content, so he wouldn't realize that I was packing behind his back, which it was kind of funny because he would be like, "So what do you want for your birthday?" Um, and I'll be like, "Can I just get a $100 gift card for Amazon?" And with the money that he would give me on celebrations, I would use it to buy luggage so I could pack and leave him.
Unbelievable. Mm.
Yes, so I we were trying to
Like,
get more feet and stuff, and we went on a walk, and then we both got like we both started coughing, and we were like, do we have COVID again? Because this was in 2021, and then it turned out to be just a cold. He got rid of it. I didn't. And the cold turned into 2 fevers a day and a an incessant cough that would not allow me to speak. And talking is my favorite thing in the world, as you can see.
yes.
So I actually we ended up going to urgent care. They told me that I had community acquired pneumonia, and they gave me antibiotics.
Mhm.
And I took the antibiotics. By the third day, the cough and the fever would not go away. So I realized I don't think this is a cold. I think this is or community acquired pneumonia. I think this is something else. So my partner at that time was a nurse, so he took me to a hospital where he knew a lot of people, which also talks about how well um, he had everything control. Even if we went
Yes.
somewhere, even if we were to the
Yeah.
hospital, it would be to the
Mhm.
hospital that he where he knew people. He could know everything that was going on with me right away. So,
Yes.
uh, yeah, um, yes. So we went to the hospital. Five doctors surrounded me. They were like, "You're staying the night. We actually don't know what you have, but we can't let you go right now. Like we think this could be something that is life threatening." Um, and they
Oh,
asked me,
right away. Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
After that, they were like, they thought that I might had a heart murmur. Um, and while I was waiting and everything, they asked me, have you seen any like balls or any like bumps or anything in your body that were not there before? And I said, well, I had a little bump underneath my left armpit, and it actually grew, but I don't know why I didn't think about it.
Mm.
So they did a small biopsy, and it they told me, well, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that it could be either cancer or it could be uh, Epstein-Barr virus. The bad
Mhm.
news is that it could be cancer. So they're like, we need to do a full biopsy. We need to take it out of your body and analyze it. And it was like the size um, of a golf ball. And um, yeah,
Unbelievable.
that's what I.
Did you tell your family right away when you heard the news? Like, um,
You know, my entire family lives in Mexico, so it was a call that I felt like I had to do. But before actually giving the news to my mom and my dad, I called my sister, who is a doctor, and
mm,
I told her I have a feeling that it is cancer. I don't know why, but I felt it. Like I saw myself going through that, and I was I was not afraid to die from cancer. I was afraid that my death would um
impact your
yes,
family. Yeah.
yes. I
Yeah.
I know it
Totally
I know
understand
it
that. Yeah.
and since I was already a victim of domestic violence, I think I felt guilty for having cancer. I think I kind of realized of what I was about to put my entire family through, and it made me feel upset at myself for not being able to do anything about it, and I have to go through it.
You know, it's unbelievable. You have to deal with the abuse and at the same time deal with the disease. Uh, like it's too much for one human being to go through alone. So I cannot
Yes,
imagine how you felt and what were you thinking. Like, tell me,
you know,
did you what were your first thoughts? Like, um, first of all, you weren't able to get rid of your partner or keep a distance because of your situation. So it must have been chaotic. I mean, how did you deal with all this situation? So many things at the same time.
uh, you know, I've I consider myself a positive thinker. I think in that moment I had to have two options. I can either break down right now
Hmm.
and just let the weight of everything just inundate me and drown me, or I can make sure that I have if these are going to be my last years or my last months or anything, I can live them happy without a fear of dying, but actually excited for everything that I got to do before.
Hmm.
Um, and if I'm not dying, I can make sure that this time that I'm going to be going through this is going to be a time where I get my power back. I feel like when we go through cancer, when we go through sickness, it's kind of like we take our power away. It's like we become stuffed animals. Like
Yes.
we're
Yes.
s- we're so small, we're like children. And that's why I wrote a children's book because I wanted to say I felt like a little kid. I had to stay with my partner so I would survive because my family's visas expired. Um, and no one could come and see me, so I had to stay with him. I moved in with him, um, and uh, I actually got laid off from my job for having cancer
Yes, you
at that
lost your
time.
job. Yeah.
And so on top of everything, I lost my job, and I also had like a lot of bills like piling up from the
Mm-hmm.
chemotherapy. And I truly felt like I was drowning, but I said, if I can just visualize the next two steps that I have to take care of, which is go to my chemotherapy, keeping my
Mm-hmm.
partner happy, letting my family know that I'm okay, and just staying feeling useful to myself. I think that's a very good key for staying alive is how useful you are, not even to other human beings, but to yourself. What makes me
Mm-hmm.
feel useful? And one of the things that I did was that I bought a candle kit and I started to make my own candles. I would grab flowers and dry them up and put them into candles. I used my instant camera and took pictures and sent them to friends and family. I read so many books and all the movies that I had that I always wanted to watch. So it was a very healing moment, even though I felt like I was in a storm, but then I was
Yes.
able to be in the middle of it, where you also don't feel anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And how about your partner? Um, how was he during this time? Like, did things get better because he knew you were in a very difficult state? So were things a little bit easier at that time?
You know, um, I would love to say
The
that
abusive people, they never stop. Like, it's their
no,
thing to control. Um, but how was your experience?
yes, exactly. I think I would love to say that he actually realized of what he was doing wrong and cancer made him softer and everything, but that was not the case. I actually during chemotherapies, just to show him that I was useful to him as well, um, I would be the one doing his cooking, his cleaning, his laundry. I would fold it. I would wake up at 5 in the morning so he could be at work at 6 because he would have a 6 to 6 job as a nurse. Whenever he would come home, I would make sure that he had his candy ready. And mind you, he is 1 or 2 years older than me. So his candy ready, his food ready. I would make like dishes with like shapes and stuff like that. And because he was very particular, I mean, he was going through his own mental health problems that I
Mhm,
didn't know that him and his family were concealing from me. Um, and the parents once well, I'm going a little bit forward without skipping some things, but um, their parents tried to convince my mom that it would be a good idea for us to get married and for me to live in the same land that everyone lived in and the same street. And they assured me that if I married their son, I would have a house and a car and I wouldn't have to worry about anything because I knew that once I was better, I would be ready to be their son's caretaker. Um,
yes,
but but I am no one's caretaker. I think we have to learn to take care of ourselves first.
and
And
especially those circumstances.
exactly, exactly. And he used a lot of financial violence, which is something that I feel like we don't talk about enough, is how money affects relationships in a very proportionate way. And
Mhm.
um,
Always,
I
like, the way people control others. Uh-huh. Yeah, of course.
exactly. And I mean, he would give me his card and he would be like, you can buy whatever you want from the grocery store. just from there. And make sure
Hmm.
that you have steak, make sure that you buy this. So I learned how to make everything that he wanted. And now I actually hate cooking because of all the back and forth. So that relationship did take a lot away from me. But I feel like little by little, even when I moved, I after Boston, Massachusetts, once I was cured, I moved to Austin, Texas, and I was living by myself for the first time in 4 years because I used to live by myself before too. And I, because of PTSD and everything that I went with him, because he used to scream a lot and he used to, even
Hmm.
when I tried to break up with him, he grabbed a huge knife and he said, if you break up with me, I'm gonna slit my throat. So I actually used to hear him, even though he was not there. I was already in another state, in another city. Before going to
He
bed,
could control you.
yes, and I could still hear him in the like in the wind. I could still hear him screaming at me, and
I
that lasted for an entire year. I'm
mhm,
sure you relate to this that you also went through domestic
deeply,
violence.
because my relationship was for many years, and it was really hard. I have PTSD due to that. I mean, I know how it feels, and most of the time is because I have chronic anxiety. It triggers me in a way that I cannot control, but I'm trying to. Um, and a lot of things changed for me when I gave birth to my daughter. Like I found a balance. It's not that I don't have those panic attacks anymore. I still do, but it's different. It's different. I feel more powerful. I feel it's totally different. But I cannot imagine. It must have been so hard. Like people struggle with domestic abuse or disease, and but you had to handle everything at the same time. Like for me, it's crazy even to think about it. Like,
Yeah.
and at the same time, being away from your family from the people that could support you. Um, you know, you're a true hero. Like,
We are heroes. You are
yeah.
too.
Yes, I
We
think
are.
we
We
do.
truly
We
are.
are.
And
We
and you
are.
know, and going back to you having a daughter, I think th this is how we transform our pain into something that makes us heal because giving our life to service also serving to another human being having a daughter makes you don't have to remember all of those things because you have to put your mind into something else and at the
Yeah.
same that you are helping them to live to take their first steps to nurture another person you're nurturing yourself as well and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I don't have kids but to me with my book I was able to read it to families who were going through cancer do it to um, other people that went through domestic violence abuse, and just like that, I was alchemizing my pain into healing and helping other people doing it as well. And I'm sure you're doing that with this podcast as well.
Yeah. I'm trying. I have written a kids book series. Yes, because when I started reading stories to my daughter,
Hmm.
because she's 9 now, but
Oh,
we almost every single night. Um, I wanted to explore, themes that I could not find, like for mental health and adversity, and so yeah, I created that children's book series, which was healing for me as well. So, how was it for you? First of all, tell us about the story. But before we dive into the book, another thing was that you didn't quit from your job. They fired you, right?
yes.
So again, and you didn't give up. Like you fought back and you won, like legally.
Yes, I believe I have this strong belief that when the universe when the universe gives you something that is not working is because you're not supposed to be there. But when it gives you a rejection, it's just redirection, and you have to see your resources. The universe just wants you to be more creative. Okay, like
Mhm.
you, what else can you do? So I was very sad, and I honestly kind of felt it coming. I It's like that a gut feeling that something is not quite right, or the people that are talking to you are like hiding something while they're smiling. And I
Mm,
started to keep everything, which I invite people to do it as well. Every conversation, every work that I was doing, I would take pictures of it. So I had everything that I was doing month to month, day to day. I have it in my personal computer. And when did the layoff, um, I didn't sign anything. I said, I am not going to sign that anything that says that you fire me because of my performance, because I have been doing what you want me to do. And the expectations that you're setting up are not realistic. They didn't even know what they wanted. So
mm,
I got a lawyer in Massachusetts, one of those lawyers that they don't charge you if you don't win the case. And to entice the lawyer even more, he was on a 32%. And I said, hey, if you take my case, we can go from 32% to 35, but you have to take it right now. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. He's like,
yeah,
let's do it. So he did it. I actually, we actually settled before actually going to court because they realized that
yeah,
they messed it up. And since
yes.
I sent an email to the CEO and the CEO didn't do anything, um, he was going to be involved in it too as how do you call it? As a culprit without negligence, as a negligent person.
Mhm, mhm.
So, so we ended up winning. I used part of the money to to move and to pay off everything from Massachusetts to El Paso. And I used the rest of the money to take my mom on a trip. We went backpacking through Europe. We went to Iceland, we went to Italy, we went to Paris, New York, Vienna. Um, I think that's it.
That's so nice.
It was a beautiful trip where we were celebrating my mom's birthday. That was during the trip, and me surviving cancer while my dad and my sister's family were at home just rooting for us while we were there. And honestly, I just wanted to spend time with my mom because I felt like partners come and go, but a relationship with your family is forever.
I couldn't agree.
And
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Carlos, tell me, what was the hardest part of chemotherapy for you, like physically, emotionally, and spiritually? Because I know that right now there are a lot of people going through this, and tell me your experience.
Uh, I mean, to be very, very honest, it was the changes that I created in my body. Um,
Mm,
Through chemotherapy, when you don't get, I couldn't get radio therapy because the tumor was too close to my organs because it was on my chest.
yeah.
So I only got chemotherapy, but I got a very, very heavy dose of chemotherapy. And throughout that time, everything that I would eat was always with an aftertaste, or my mouth was constantly in an aftertaste of like metal or like
Mm-hmm.
something very strong. And the only way to make it go away was to eat something.
Yeah,
So, and that they would give me medication that would help me with the nausea, but it would give me paranoia. Because this is medication that they give to patients who have schizophrenia. But it got so bad that I would be on the window like every day trying to see if someone was passing by or everything. So I ended up telling my doctor, I rather throw up and be nauseous than be eating the way that I'm eating and have the anxiety and paranoia.
yeah,
Which it did help, but I did it a little bit way too late, and I gained I believe like 25 pounds to 30 in a month. So my body couldn't catch up with how quick it was. So my skin was completely ripped from like
yes, yes, yes.
the stretch marks. Um, and then the most horrible thing happened to me, which was to lose my hair. And when I lost my hair, because I was
Yeah,
really trying to keep it, um, it was literally I thought that it was just like you wake up and it's little by little, but I was taking a shower, and just the weight of the water falling
Water.
on on my head made the hair fall out. Like, I started crying in the bathroom, and I remember my partner from that time came running. He's like, "What's wrong?" And he saw all the hair there, and which is one of the nice things that he actually did. He went to help me, and then he helped me bust my hair that time, and I was just holding on to my hair so much because in my eyelashes, because since I was little, I was called little eyelashes,
Yeah.
pestañitas, and I felt like everything was okay until that moment because I still had my identity. So
Yeah.
if as a guy, I went through an identity crisis without my hair and gaining weight like that, I can imagine for a woman what it must feel like to see yourself without your hair, without your eyebrows and eyelashes and everything that, although it does not define you as a woman,
Of course.
it makes you
But
feel more feminine.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
that
many survivors like mention lingering fears after treatment. Like, how has your perspective on that changed over time?
I I truly think that that was a one-off and also an opportunity for me to, which I don't say that everything bad that happens to us is it has a reason. Sometimes things just happen. Um, However, I do think that it is up to us to give it a uh, a meaning. We can take everything that happens to us as a meaning or as nothing. And I chose to give it a meaning. So to me, I think that I already learned the lesson and I don't see it coming back. I think if there was a lesson to learn, I already went through that. And even during the last chemotherapies that I had, I prayed to the universe, I prayed to God, and I said, um, if you allow me to survive that, I promise you, I'm going to write a book about it, and I'm going to share my story so I can help other people. So I was
Mm.
literally negotiating, saying with our
Have
higher
that also, and it worked.
yes. So I
Yes.
said, and I'm
Yes.
gonna publish it, and I'm gonna try to help other people, but you have to help me survive. So, my sister's husband, he is a genetics doctor,
Hmm.
and he has been great at testing all of my family because his dad unfortunately also passed away from cancer. Um, so I'm being very closely and very well checked, like every 3 months or every 5 months with my blood, and every year with a PET scan. Um, I truly don't see it coming back. Um, but um, I'm also not afraid. I think living afraid is not a way to live in. I think um, to me, dying is not the worst thing. I think is living with that fear of dying because
Yes.
then you don't get to actually live. You don't get to actually decide how do you want your life to be.
Hmm.
So I don't see it coming back. I am trying to stay more healthy. I am changing my habits too, but I am cured. I am not in remission, but cured at the moment.
Yes. Yes. So tell us now about the book. How did you come up with the title?
Yes. So um, like I said before, I think when we're going through sickness and everything, we are actually defenseless, even if we're 20, 30, 40, 50, anything. We feel defenseless and we need someone to take care of us. We want someone to hold our hand and tell us that everything is going to be all right. So while I was going through domestic violence and when I was going through cancer, I had a stuffed animal that someone gave me from before that I just kept carrying. And my stuffed animal would keep seeing everything that was going through me. So
Mm.
even though the stuffed animal didn't mean that much before, during cancer, it became my companion, the one that wouldn't yell at me, the one that wouldn't hurt me, the one that would be there every night.
Mm.
And I decided to honor my stuffed animal as a symbolism of my own strength because it's a lion. is a stuffed animal. And actually, I invited him to come today
Oh,
to
that's
show
so nice.
up. Yeah,
Hello. Oh,
his name is Leon,
Leon.
uh, and as you can see, he has been very loved through and
I'm
through.
yes.
Yes, and I think for me it was that symbolism that inside of us we all have a lion. That even
Mm,
if we lose our manes, even if we lose that strength, we can still go back to that. We can still go back to that. And I also realized that everyone has their own lions in their life. Just for me, it was lion, it was myself. But for other people, could be like you, your daughter, your
yeah.
strength that you have every day. For another
Mhm.
person, could be a memory of their childhood, of how their family was when they were little, and that's something that they would like to create in the future. For another person, could be their dream job or their dream career or their
Yeah.
aspiring to be an actor or a singer or whatever is making you hold on to this life and is giving you that passion in order
A
to
motivation. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
um that to me is your Leon, your lion, the
Yeah.
one thing that is not going to let you uh say I don't want to continue with this fight anymore is your grappling to life and saying I am taking my power back. No matter if I can't move inside of my head, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to govern here, even if I can move my entire body. And that's what I think that our true power lies on the choices that we make inside of us. And that's why I wanted to write the book too, to show people that there are even in the moments that you find the hardest, in the most where you feel the most weak, you can find strength within.
Mhm. And how can you do that practically? I mean, there are times that you just cannot find your way out from the darkness. So, can you share just a couple of things that one could do, use some, tools so he can navigate through this
Absolutely,
problem?
yes. Well, aside of course from reading my book, just kidding.
Of course, of course.
Yes, um, I truly believe in vision boards, and vision boards is a constant reminder of what we want.
Mhm.
I recommend when you're making your vision board to separate it. I actually give vision board workshops. I currently work at ByteDance at TikTok, and I had the opportunity to give vision board classes to my coworkers, also the custodian staff, because I believe everyone has the capacity to dream. So I ask them to separate to your left everything that you want to accomplish, and to your right everything that you have accomplished. So for
That's very
everything,
important. Yeah, to
yes,
look at the that you have accomplished, because many times we just, we accomplish something and then we forget about it, or we undervalue it in a way.
yes,
So it's very important to have those things in front of you, the things that you have accomplished. Because
yes, and
before, they were just a dream, but then you managed to accomplish these things. So of course you can accomplish anything you set your mind into.
yes, and because of that, I feel like we put so much pressure into the things that we want to do, and when you see all the things that you have done, is like, wait a minute, I can also do that. Like I already went through this, so I in mine I have from learning English to when I moved to another state, when I moved to Boston, when I got into my MBA program, um, and things that like when I took my mom to Paris, things that to me have a lot of emotional weight. For other people, could be the first time that they bake something, or the first time that they learn how
Yes.
to ride a bike, or how to drive a car. And for everything that you want, you should have one or two things that you're grateful for that you have done in the
Right.
past. And that's how you put the balance. I am grateful for this and this, and I would like this, and I'm gonna keep working on it. That's one of the things that I did. Another thing that I would do when I was going through cancer and domestic violence abuse was that every night before going to bed, I would write three things that I was grateful for, and then I would close my eyes and I would visualize the life that I wanted to have once I was healed. So I said, "Thank you, universe," or whomever everyone
Mm-hmm.
believes in.
Yeah.
Thank you, universe, for because I am healed. Uh, my body is healthy, and this is how I want. This is how my life is. And then I imagine from since I wake up to me making the bed. And I imagined an entire apartment in a certain way with certain colors. I imagine blue chairs, velvet, with this art and this furniture, gold with these accents. Like I imagine everything like if it was happening,
Yeah.
and my body started to feel and giving me oxytocin, giving me all of those things that we feel when we're in love for that
Mm-hmm.
moment because it felt so relaxed that there was no need to stress. And that was a moment just for me. My partner was already asleep. I had already gone through the chemotherapy and this and that. That was my moment to have by myself. Like when I closed my eyes and just to imagine the life that I wanted to have. And guess what? I ended up a year later having an apartment similar to the one that I was envisioning. I got the chairs exactly the ones that I wanted. Everything started to actually become real. Even the car that I wanted, I got to get the exact car that I was envisioning.
Amazing.
Everything worked out. It was my dream car. It was a convertible car that I wanted as a I survived cancer kind of way. So I realized that if I wanted to move away from feeling like a victim,
Mm-hmm.
I needed to start acting like the hero. So I think it's everything about your identity, and you have to
The way you
think,
see yourself, the way you, yeah, you perceive
yes,
yourself.
and
Yeah.
and, and you have to ask these questions. How does a hero act in your narrative? What would the hero do? So I started to read more, like I said, to do the candles, to visualize, to do my vision board, to prepare for do an entire plan. I this is one of my favorite things. I do A, B, C, D, and D, and I start writing different outcomes of different things that can happen in my life. If this one doesn't work, maybe the next one, and not the next one, the next one. So you're always within your first 4 or 5 plans. So you never
Mhm.
feel like you lose. It's just a rearrangement of the plans that you are creating for yourself.
Yes. Yes. So, what do you hope a child battling illness feels when they read Lion's Journey? Leon's Journey.
um, Thank you so much for that question. Actually, no one has asked me that question, and um, I think I want them to feel heard. I
Mhm.
want them to feel understood, and more than anything, I want them to understand what's happening to them. I think doctors tend to talk more to the parents than to the kid,
Yes. Yes.
and a lot of the times their childhood is interrupted. They don't know why they're not able to go to school like their other classmates. They don't know
Mhm.
why they can't sleep at their in their bed anymore. They have to be at the hospital. They don't know why mom is crying all the time or dad is going through this. They don't know why they're fighting. They don't know why their siblings have to miss school so they can be there, or why they have to
Yeah.
travel hours and hours away for another hospital because their city doesn't have a hospital for cancer. So when I was Make a Wish star in El Paso,
Mm.
and I was a featured author reading to kids and families, and one of the kids a month later, one of the parents sent me a picture of their kid, and with and the kid was reading my book, and he said, I just wanted to let you know that our kid brings his book with him every time that he gets chemotherapy, and he says that he is strong like Leon. So I think if
He's Leon. The book is his.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. I just got chill saying that.
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
So I think that's exactly what I wanted, and I think I truly hope that life gives me the opportunity to share it. I mean, my goal is that I can have my books in every chemotherapy hospital, at least in the state that I am. So people have something to read, something to entertain, a way of dreaming, or
Mhm.
a success narrative of someone that went through what they're going through, and they can
Yes.
find that little moment of positivity while they're going through chemotherapy in that moment.
Yeah. So in your darkest moments, the one thing that kept you moving forward was like thinking positively and being able to vision all the things that you wanted to accomplish and to see yourself, being healthy and doing all the things you love. So that was your way of coping, um, and being able to, go through all those stages until you were able to cure eventually.
Yes, and don't get me wrong, I don't, and I think people should be very careful with toxic positivity. I think
Right.
part of being sick or part of going through hard things in life is also to be able to digest what is happening. I think if we are not able to actually analyze, absorb, and also get rid of it, we are just going to be accumulating those feelings. So, in between those times, between the chemotherapy and all the things that I did to make myself feel better, I did allow myself of sad time, and I would call it is the
Mhm.
sad hour.
Yeah.
So in my
Yeah.
my sad hour, in my sad time, I would set up 50 minutes to an hour to listen to the saddest songs, to journal. I would journal and cry and be like, but why is this happening to me? And like all of this, and just to get it out, just to be able to free
To
myself
get
from
that
those
energy
feelings.
out of your system. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
And
Of
and
course.
sometimes I would do it while I was taking a walk outside, so I could cry, and I would choose the loneliest paths, so I would like scream from the top of my lungs. People would
Yeah.
think that I
All
was crazy.
this trapped energy, negative trapped energy, you have to let it go in a way. So,
Exactly. I
so
I
th-
went as far as grabbing rocks and throwing them to the ocean because I was living in the seaside of Boston. So I was literally like throwing rocks and doing like everything. I didn't have much strength, but I was just like it was doing something. And like I said, movement beats stagnation. So
mm,
if you're pushing, even if it's one little thing, you're gonna feel accomplished. So after doing that, I would come back. I would feel much relaxed. I would feel much tired after all of those feelings, and it was time to get back to my positive routine. And let's keep going.
yes, yes. So, if your book could leave one lasting impression on a reader's heart, what would it be?
Uh, I think, um, okay. I think if my book could leave in one lasting impression on everyone, it would be if I was able to do this, if I was able to survive cancer, if I was able to um, write a children's book, if I was able to get to you, for you or anyone to listen to me, you
Mhm.
can do it too. Don't think that where you come from or whatever you're going through is going to define where you end up.
Yes.
You have the power of changing that. You have the power of
To get
moving.
rid of those limiting beliefs that you have, right?
Exactly. And that we have so many resources. Um,
Mhm.
I actually got to be part of a program, and I don't know if I can mention it here, but it's a nonprofit. May I talk about the nonprofit
Of
for a little
course,
bit?
of course.
So at least in the US, we have this nonprofit that is called Dollar for Dollar, like I said, dollar
Mm,
sign, Dollar for, and Dollar for helped me to wipe out the entirely of what I owed for chemotherapy.
mhm.
And it works in the way that if you're not working, they would use a loophole in the medical system to completely pardon all of your bills. So for someone that is going through diabetes, for someone that is going through cancer or any other sickness, they can go to Dollar for the nonprofit, and they can have that wiped out. And if you have a hard time finding it, you can go to cancercanstopmirror.com, and I
Mhm.
have there a video of Boston news that I was saying talking about all of this. Another one is SAM Fund, SAM Fund, SAM Fund, and this helps people who went through cancer and they're already either in remission or cured to actually be able to get assistance. And they actually pay my rent for 2 months. So while I was getting a job and I was getting back into my feet, um, I didn't have to worry about that. So these are great two resources that they can use in the U.S. For helping themselves, especially since in the U.S. the medical system is a little bit tougher than in other parts of the world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what are your dreams, your plans for the future?
Well, I recently moved to Los Angeles, California, to follow
Mhm.
my dreams of becoming an actor, uh, and I also would love to be one day giving TED Talks about positive thinking and the power of alchemizing pain into healing. Um, I'm actually writing another children's book about emotions and how we confuse them. And
Interesting. How we confuse
yes,
them, you said, huh?
yes. So I think when we're growing up and if we didn't have strong support systems, we are taught to say, especially with kids, we say, stop crying, stop doing that, don't get angry. Why are you angry? But we don't let them live their emotions. So
Mm.
we teach them to lie. We teach them to hide them. We teach them
Their
to
feelings. Mhm.
and to mimetize with the environment instead of being true to themselves.
And the worst is that we make them feel like they're doing something wrong, like,
Exactly.
like experiencing one certain emotion is something wrong, like you can be sad and it's okay because you know, everyone experiences all the emotions and, you know, so that creates the limiting beliefs that one
Exactly.
creates in childhood, you know,
And it
so
and
it's
it also teaches
difficult.
you that you shouldn't believe in yourself. That you should, maybe what I'm feeling is not realistic. Maybe the anger that I'm feeling is not guaranteed. So
Mhm.
we teach them to mask their emotions. And even as adults, we think that we are sad, but in reality, we are so angry that these things happen. And what we do, we just go to bed and we sleep for hours. And then we never knew what happened. We just
Yeah.
mask it, and sometimes we are so angry, but what we feel is deception. We are we are sad. We feel betrayed, but we're masking everything. So
Mhm.
in my book, I want and I'm not gonna say too much about it, but it's going to be an
Oh, no.
analogy. Yes, it's
Well,
coming up this October 31st in Halloween, and it's about two parents trying to show their daughter. Um, why she doesn't know what she's feeling and how to analyze and how to empty yourself every day when going to bed so you can start with new emotions and new feelings every morning.
yeah, and that we have to embrace all the emotions.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So, Carlos, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story. It was so inspiring. You
Absolutely.
know?
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
And until next time, remember, ego was here, you are here, and that's enough.